Welcome back, creatures. One sound that is in a lot of different songs and a lot of different styles that's kind of hard to really quantify are synth keys. Really, any kind of sound can count. Something that sounds a little bit more synthetic, something that sounds a little more realistic, something that sounds completely out of this world and insane could count as a key. But in this video, I've got 5 ways to do it. So let's do it. The first one, analog, or virtual analog. We're going to go simple with this one. I have OBX opened up here. I'm just going to change some settings. Bring the sustain down, bring the decay out, give a little bit of release so that it sounds like this. We're going to do the same thing with the filter here. Bring the sustain down and match the decay and release to roughly around the same as the amplitude or the loudness. Now I've got the filter and resonance settings done. Let's add in a second oscillator. Change it to a pulse. Change the pulse width. Maybe change. And what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to sync these so that we have kind of a hard sync sound. And I'm going to control that using a similar envelope to the filter. And so it sounds a bit like that, but let's bring the frequency down. Sounds very funky. What I've basically done is I've set up a sound that is hard synced, and so one of the oscillators is being forced to align with the phase of the other oscillator, which is why it has this strange effect, but it all sounds in tune, even though the frequency of this is much higher. With this kind of thing, you can have a very bright sound, something a little darker, and you can make something totally clavinet-like. FM. Let's just get out of the way. This is the DX7 style FM piano. Now, this one is actually also really simple to make, and it's also simple to deviate from if you wanted to make other types of key sounds. So what I have here are 4 oscillators. One of them is modulating the other, and it sounds like this so far. I have one of these detuned so that it doesn't sound too perfect. Around here. But of course, there is more to this sound. That crystalline type sound that usually comes with this is done with a similar thing. You have 2 other sine waves. One of them is tuned to the first harmonic, but the other one will actually be tuned to a very, very, very high harmonic, usually around 12, 14, or 16. Here's 1-to-1, more of a pluck, 2-to-1, kind of a square, 3, sounds like that, 4, like that. And let's get even higher. 9, sounds like that, 11, 12, 14, 16, well, maybe even 18 or 20. And of course, all 4 of those together. All right, that's that out of the way. This third one, we're still on FM, but this one aims to do things a little bit differently. This one has a bit of a rougher sound. It's not as clean or as nice as that other one, and kind of is closer to at least trying to emulate an acoustic, which is already hard enough to do. You don't need to worry about that. This one, it sounds like this. And we have basically the same setup, except we do have each one modulating the next one down in series. The ratio tunings are different. Instead of it being 20, we have this at 7. The second one is at 5, and these two remain pretty much unchanged. On their own, they sound like this. With the third one. And then with the fourth one, finally, we have this. And there we go. This next sound right here pretty much utilizes elements of FM, but also a little bit of other synthesis. I'm using a noise sample here, and in the bottom I am using a triangle wave in unison mode for some overtones. So the first sound on its own is just some noise, and it's a loop so that it will keep playing forever, but it also has some filters that are resonating at the frequency that I want to play. So if I play a C, it's going to resonate at a C, and I have that tracked so that every time I do play a note, it's going to correspond with that note. The next group of sounds I have down here is FM, and they're modulating into each other serially, one to the next at a ratio of 6 to 1 to 1, and that sounds like this. It sounds very harp-like, or guitar-like. And the last sound down here is a triangle wave at unison 4. It's slightly detuned, and it's pitched to the 6th harmonic, which would be a couple octaves and then a 5th. Which means if you were to play a C, it would be some octaves up and then a G. Unison mode gives it a little bit of detuning, and so it sounds a bit chorused. And now all of these sounds together through a bit of delay and reverb sounds like this. Sample and synthesis. Now this one, I'm going to mix a little bit of resynthesis and a sample with this sound. I'm going to use this sample. Just going to drag that over here into this, load the sample in, and the first sound that I have here is a wavetable of a piano sample that I made a little while ago. And at that note, it sounds like that. And the thing with this is that if I were to use just that sound, if I were to play higher up, it gets very bright, and if I play it really low, it gets really dark, darker than a piano note would be because of all the harmonic overtones. But we're synthesizing it, so it doesn't really matter, and both of these together sound like this now. Very chorused because the wavetable sound is going to be perfectly in tune, but the sample is going to have some tuning issues as the note carries on, particularly because I think that sample was also of a very detuned piano string. Let's round this out with a little bit of a filter. Let's go over down here and add a note so that the filter does open up over time, but only gradually. Now let's say you didn't have a wavetable of a piano sample and you did want to do a little bit of sample and synthesis. Well, that's just fine. Let's go ahead and do that instead. Okay, so I set up the sound. I have a sawtooth wave with some two-voice unison and only slightly detuned. And then the second oscillator down here is a pulse wave with some pulse width modulation being controlled by the envelope and a little bit of key sync also controlled by the envelope. That sound on its own is this. Bit of a chorus sound, very, very full, not thin, not light. And of course, it's also going through a little bit of filter, which I do have tracked to an envelope and the note position so that it doesn't get too bright the higher up it goes. And so if we pair that with our sample, we get this. We can also increase the volume of the sample compared to the synth. Let's say we didn't have a sample this long. So yeah, with a better sample, you could probably get a really interesting piano synth hybrid sound with this. So yes, that is at least 5, not 10, 5 ways to synth keys. Of course, using these methods, you could go even crazier, do more stuff, do less stuff, and still get an interesting sound. But yeah, the rest I will leave to your imagination, and I'll see you next time in some other video on some other day. Bye now.